You ever hear one of those little rumors about Johnny Depp that sounds so weird? You almost laugh until you realize they might actually be true. Well, here's one that surprises most people. They think Johnny spends his nights practicing movie scenes, reading scripts, or doing rock concerts. But no, what he really does, what he quietly escapes into, almost like a secret life, is painting. Real, emotional, honest painting. And not the kind of drawing someone does for fun. I'm talking long nights, silence, a blank canvas, colors everywhere, and a version of Johnny that the world rarely sees. And that's what we're talking about today. This quiet, hidden, artistic world that sits behind all the movies, the awards, the fame, controversies, and the drama. If you've been following Johnny for years through the ups, the downs, the headlines, and the comebacks, you're definitely not alone. But most people don't know that. Behind all of that, behind the public noise, he's been building a world made entirely of paint, memory, and emotion. It's a world he almost never talks about, a world he didn't show for decades, and a world that shows a much softer, more gentle side of him. Stick with me, because once you see how deep this artistic side goes, you won't look at Johnny the same way again. And trust me, the surprise near the end will completely change how you feel about his art. You know what's funny? When people hear the name Johnny Depp, their minds instantly jump to characters. Captain Jack Sparrow with his swagger, Edward Scissorhands with his sad eyes, the Mad Hatter with all his chaos. People think of the musician, the rebel, the Hollywood outsider, but almost nobody asks the simple question, what does Johnny do when the cameras are off and nobody is watching? And the answer is so different from what you'd expect. He paints. He goes into this super personal world where he doesn't need to perform. He doesn't need to impress, and he doesn't need to pretend. It's literally just him and a canvas. His relationship with art actually started way before Hollywood ever came calling. As a teenager, when life was confusing and rough, he found comfort in drawing. Instead of expressing feelings through long conversations, he would draw faces, trying to capture emotions he wasn't ready to say out loud. It was his safe place. And even now, decades later, you can still see those early feelings in his paintings. They're raw, they're loud, they're honest, and they don't hide anything. Most fans ask if he loves painting this much, why didn't he talk about it earlier? It's simple. Johnny doesn't like labels. He hates when people try to put him in a box. Actor, musician, painter, public figure. He doesn't want any of that. He once said something so simple, but so powerful. He said, art is the only space where I can breathe without anyone judging the air around me. Think about that for a moment. That one sentence tells you everything you need to know about why he kept this part of his life private for so long. It was his oxygen. It was his escape. Let's break his artistic journey down, because it really does come in stages, almost like the different parts of his film career. There's the first stage, which I like to call the escape. This was during some of the toughest years of his life. The endless court hearings, the criticism, the headlines that felt like they were coming out every single hour. While the world argued about him, judged him, and picked apart his every move, Johnny did something unexpected. He went quiet. He didn't fight back on social media. He didn't jump into interviews. Instead, he poured everything into painting. People close to him said he would stay up until sunrise, completely lost in his own world with music playing and brushes everywhere. He wasn't trying to create something for attention. He was simply trying to breathe, to survive, to put the pain somewhere. Then there's the second stage, the one fans find most interesting. It's the one I call the faces collection. Instead of painting landscapes or random patterns, Johnny paints people. Not fancy, perfect portraits, but emotional snapshots. He paints icons, friends, inspirations, and faces that mean something to him. But he paints them in a way that captures their spirit, not their appearance. He once said that a portrait should show the thoughts you're too afraid to say. And when you look at his work, especially the eyes, you immediately understand what he means. It's like he's painting their secrets, their fears, their quiet moments. It's the kind of art that stops you for a second and makes you think. And then there's the third stage, what I call the quiet release. Most celebrities hype their projects for months. They build suspense, do interviews, post teasers, go on TV shows. Johnny, he did none of that. He released his entire art series without a single interview. No dramatic trailer, no countdown. The gallery posted it online and it sold out within hours. That's the power of mystery. When someone as famous as Johnny Depp shows something without hype, it feels more intimate, more genuine, like he's letting you into a part of his private life. Here's something almost nobody knows. Johnny doesn't paint to impress people. He paints to heal himself. People who have seen him during these painting sessions say it's the most honest, unguarded version of him. He's not the movie star. He's not the character. He's not the musician. He's just human. There's even a funny moment that fans love. Some people online once tried to figure out one of his paintings and called it a symbol of heartbreak. And Johnny's reaction was so simple and so perfectly him. He said, "It's just how I felt that night. Nothing more complicated than that." That line says everything about the way he sees art. It doesn't have to be deep or strategic. It just needs to be real. Art experts who have studied his work say he has a natural sense of color. He uses bold outlines and bright shades, but he always puts extra detail in the eyes. They compare him to pop art greats, but Johnny himself doesn't like the comparison. He says he paints to remember, not to impress. That's such a deeply personal way of looking at creativity. It's not about skill or technique. It's about memory. It's about freezing a moment that mattered. It's about honoring someone who changed him. And remember how I said earlier that there was a surprise coming? Well, here it is. A lot of Johnny's paintings, especially the early ones, aren't in galleries or online. They're in people's homes. His friends have them. Musicians he admires have them. Former co-stars have them. These pieces aren't sold at auctions. He gives them away quietly, privately, like emotional gifts. Imagine owning a painting Johnny made on one of his hardest nights. A painting he never planned to sell. A painting he gave because it meant something. That's not just a piece of art. That's a little piece of his history. Now, let me tell you something most fans miss. And once you notice this pattern, you'll never unsee it. Whenever Johnny suddenly goes silent on social media, whenever he disappears from public events for a few months, whenever he doesn't post pictures or appear in interviews, that's usually when he's painting the most. That's when he goes back into that hidden artistic world. That's when he's healing, creating, remembering. So the next time he goes quiet, don't panic. Don't assume something bad is happening. He's probably somewhere in France or the UK, surrounded by paint, listening to old music, working on something the world might see years later. And honestly, isn't that such a Johnny Depp thing to do? So now it's your turn to think about it. What do you feel about this hidden artistic side of Johnny? Do you want him to release more paintings? Do you think he should show the world everything he creates? Or do you like the mystery? This secret part of his life that stays untouched by Hollywood and fame. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Your opinions always make these conversations so much more meaningful. And if you love going into these deeper sides of Johnny, the ones most people never talk about, then you're definitely going to enjoy my other video on Johnny Depp's hidden escape spots, especially number 3. It will completely blow your mind. Trust me, you'll want to watch that next. Before you go, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy these kinds of stories that go beyond the headlines and show the real human being behind the celebrity. It really helps the channel grow, and it lets me bring you even more content like this. Thanks for being here with me. Thanks for watching all the way through, and I'll see you in the next one.